Undroppables Playbook, a football podcast. With your hosts, Ashley and Michael, please sit back and enjoy the show.
Hi, everyone, and welcome back to the Undroppables Playbook, a football podcast presented by the Undroppables, sponsored by Analyst Depot. I am your host, Ashley. This is my lovely co-host, Michael Duncan. How are you tonight?
I'm doing much better. I did get some news back about last week's episode. Apparently, man cold is something that I was just unaware of. My friend was listening to it with his fiance in the car. Although she's my friend too, but apparently like it was 15 minutes into the episode and then she just went, "Is this Michael?" So like really just didn't care, was not paying any attention. So shout out to Bridget. Shout out to Nick too, I guess, but he actually listens. But yeah, they then did debate on whether or not man cold was a thing, and she was apparently very adamant that yes, it is. Nick knew what it was as well. So this was just something that I had never heard of. I'm willing to admit when I'm wrong. At least this time. So
yeah, for now.
Yeah,
you were wrong about man cold. That's vindication for me, truly.
Do you want to see what true vindication looks like?
No. The answer's
do you know what I was gonna do?
Yeah, I do know what you're gonna do, but we have lots to talk about today.
I haven't had an excuse to do it in so long.
No,
I didn't even do it when we signed Saquon Barkley.
We have so much to talk about.
All right, guys, let me know if you want me to do it next episode. If you have no idea what I'm talking about, just say that you want me to do it next episode.
You don't have to say that. Don't listen to the crazy man in your ear. Don't do that. It's like the angel and the devil. I'm the angel. Listen to me.
Okay, Ashley. Yes, you're really the angel.
All right, let's get jumping on some news here. Let's talk about a couple of stop making the face of
jumping. Wow.
Do you remember our first episode?
No, I don't remember last week's episode.
Our first episode, genuinely, it still haunts me sometimes. I went to go say, "Don't get your panties in a bunch," or like, "Don't get your panties in a twist," and I said, "Don't lose your panties."
Yeah. Did I let it go?
Yeah.
I did?
You did let that one go.
Wow,
That was
I must
still
have really not
early
been
on.
comfortable yet.
Yeah, that was still fairly early on, but yeah, that like haunted me.
You say so many wrong things. Like you do that all the time where like you say an incorrect phrase.
It's right to me.
No, but it's not though, because after the fact, you're like, yeah, I said that wrong. It's just an incorrect, like there's just common phrases that you are constantly just saying wrong. And I get it, but I normally don't let it go. So I'm shocked that I might have to pull that one out.
That's the one you did. That's the one we made a gif of, where you make that face. Oh, that's where that comes from. Yes. Wow. That's that one.
I didn't even know that. You shouldn't have reminded me, to be honest.
Yeah. Well, that one's funny. Like that's funny, but also still haunting me a little bit.
Don't lose your panties.
Don't lose your panties. Don't lose your panties. We got some news. Let's talk about some other really quick free agency signings. So cornerback L'Jarius Sneed signed a 4-year deal with the Tennessee Titans for $76.4 million. You and I have talked about this last week, how we kind of felt like this was coming.
He also got traded to the Titans.
Oh, sorry. Well, yeah, that.
An important factor there.
Yeah, true. You and I had talked about this last week, about how it was kind of felt a lot like he was waiting for somebody to pay him, and somebody steps up to the plate.
Yeah. Do you have the specifications of the trade?
I do not.
All right, I'll pull them up when you keep talking.
Okay, well, what I'm going to keep talking about is that he's a proven playmaker, and last year put up some really good numbers. I think it's beneficial for the Titans. Again, he's a playmaker. You pay your playmakers to make a deal for him, makes sense. And this is the kind of the moment he's been waiting for. Like we had said, he's been waiting for somebody to actually like step up to the plate and pay him the money that he feels he's owed. And I think he gets this in this deal.
Yeah, and the Chiefs get back a 2025 third, and they did a 2024 7th round pick swap. So, and obviously the cap space of trading franchise tag guy. So
yep. Yeah, I don't think I think the Chiefs defense does take a step back with this, but I don't think they lose too much in this deal. If that
they lose a really good player, but I think it's necessary.
Yes, and there's some benefit to what they did. You know what I mean? So
Yeah.
either way, Rams signed quarterback Tre'Davious White to a 1-year, $10 million deal. Any thoughts about that one, or we'll just move on?
I mean, yeah, good player. Not maybe as good as of late as he was for a while, but yeah, still a good player.
Yeah. The Steelers signed running back Cordarrelle Patterson to a 2-year, $6 million deal. I do want to put here that this does come after the kick return rule change. And a lot of people are pointing that out because he's really proven on kick returns, and that's a super specialty of his. So right after the rule changes, he gets paid, and yeah, as a quirky guy, he could work really.
I would argue that he's a little bit more than proven. He actually has the NFL record for most kickoff returns for touchdowns. He has 9, one more than Josh Cribbs and Leon Washington, who have 8 each. I can't think of Josh Cribbs without thinking of the league where they yell Cribbs. It just makes me laugh. It's fine.
It hurt my ears.
No, anyone who's seen the league, they're doing it right back into their. Well, I hope they're like just in the car alone and they're just going Cribbs by themselves. But anyway, yeah, it also reunites him with Arthur Smith.
Is that similar to like how I feel about Blake Bortles because of The Good Place?
Yeah, Bortles. Yeah, it's a very similar thing. Except the league has like 15,000 of them because it's a football-based show. Yeah. Like Golden Tate being my favorite cereal and yeah, that kind of stuff. But yeah, it reunites him with Arthur Smith, whom I hate, and is somehow. I hate this. I hate Arthur Smith. I'm angry just thinking about it. It's not going to be nearly as frustrating as when like it was Bijan Robinson. Yeah. Because Najee Harris has fallen off since, being drafted in the first round just like 3 years ago, whenever that was. But it's still going to be frustrating. Although Cordarrelle Patterson was good 2 years ago. He had he was more of a down year last year, but it'll be interesting. We'll talk more about kickoff returns later. So
yeah. Yep. Jadeveon Clowney signs a 2-year deal with the Panthers for up to $24 million. That one actually came just a couple hours ago, so there's not too much on how the contract is structured. But he is a native of South Carolina, so he gets to come fairly close to home.
Yeah, that one came out of nowhere. Yeah. You don't really expect a guy like Jadeveon Clowney, who's just basically made a career out of 1-year deals as of late, just moving from kind of contenderish type of team to contenderish type of team to go to the team who drafted Bryce Young first overall last year and also would have had the first overall pick this year if they didn't trade away their first round pick. So yeah, didn't really see that one coming. I expected much more of a, maybe a return to the Ravens or maybe even a return to the Browns, or I guess some other AFC North team would have been fine too.
Yeah, agreed. A little weird, but one last kind of free agency note. Head coach Mike McDaniel says that the Dolphins have made a contract offer to Odell Beckham Jr. and that talks are still, quote, ongoing with him.
Okay. Speaking of Odell Beckham Jr., I'm sure you've kept up with it, but I just want to voice my confusion of why in general, I'm not one of those people that's like, why does everything have to be in the media and all this kind of stuff? Kim Kardashian comes out and was like, yeah, I think he would be great to father the children that I have frozen away. All I need to do is convince him of that's a good, because they're dating. He has great genetics. First of all, very Get Out vibes. Don't love that. Real
the Kardashians have that vibe to them. Looking into their history, they have that vibe.
They have that vibe, but like I don't think they've ever been this outspoken about it. So weird to begin with. Weird just all around. And then I see the next day on Twitter, Odell Beckham Jr. broke up with her because of that. And I'm like, thank God. Like just a normal reaction to a very weird thing to say out loud to let alone like leak to the media. I mean, maybe she's not even leaking it to the media. Everything she says gets to the media. So like whatever, but just really weird stuff.
Bad vibes all around.
Yeah. Really needed to just kind of put that one out there. Yeah. Okay. We can move.
Could you imagine Kim Kardashian is like an NFL wag on the Dolphins with Alex Earl? Nutso.
Who?
Exactly.
I don't.
You don't have TikTok. It's
No. Well, I
so
have it. I
hard
just
for
don't look at
me.
it.
This is so hard for me all the time to try and explain things to you about TikTok.
Wow.
Well, like it's
You have a
like
hard life.
I do. It's hard. She's an influencer. She dates Braxton Berrios. For a while, we
Oh,
didn't
yeah,
know it was
you've talked
Braxton
about her.
Berrios. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, you've talked
So
about her.
either way, all right. And former Patriots and Bills running back Damian Harris announces his retirement from the game of football this week. I think everyone kind of had an indication this was coming. There were talks about this after he left the Patriots, like that it was a possibility. So yeah, he moves on from the game of football, and congratulations on a good career.
Two things.
Okay.
Wait, are we at the end of news?
Before we start talking about
Oh, okay. Yeah,
the
two more quick news things.
Okay.
One, did we mention that Fletcher Cox retired? I feel like we
think
didn't
so.
talk about that.
Maybe not.
I'm going to do a quick thing real quick, just in case
Okay.
we didn't. He's really good. Probably going to be a Hall of Famer. Probably not going to be a first ballot Hall of Famer now that Aaron Donald also retired. I don't think we talked about it because we talked about Aaron Donald
Yeah, no.
retiring and we talked about Jason Kelsey retiring, but Fletch
Yeah,
landed in
no.
between those. Yeah, an all-time Eagle. He was the best player on that 2017 Super Bowl team. Not in the Super Bowl necessarily, but by far the best player all around on that roster. He should be a future Hall of Famer. He was on the all-decade team. Went to a lot of all-pros, Pro Bowls. Unfortunate that his career so greatly overlapped with Aaron Donald because he was never really the single best player at his position. And that's what happens when you're up against one of the greatest of all time at that position. But really awesome player, really great guy, always awesome in the locker room. I think he kind of goes... He's almost, for how good he is and the fact that I'm not sure anyone will ever wear 91 again, he is a little underappreciated in Eagles land since 2017, especially because we have guys like Jason Kelsey, Brandon Graham, Lane Johnson that are also outspoken. He's a little more behind the scenes, but we'll always have him and Chris Long forming Long Cox, which is always a good thing. And also, apparently, Fletcher Cox during Saquon Barkley's rookie year tackled him like down the field where he shouldn't have been. I got this from New Heights today. And then he said, "I'm going to be your daddy for the next 12 years," or something along those lines, something about being his father for the next 12 years. Really funny, great guy. So really like him. Really sad to see him go. Also, I remember, do you want to know exactly where I was when he got drafted? Because I could tell you exactly where I was.
Of course
So
I do.
this is my favorite draft story. It was on my birthday. April 26th was the day we drafted him. And I was in 10th grade, and my school was taking a field trip to a botanical garden in New York. Very fun. We're going to the botanical garden. The night before, my friend, wasn't really as much of my friend for very long, got broken up with by his girlfriend, also my friend. We were all in the same friend group. My entire friend group decided to hang out together with her, and I was stuck with my mopey friend.
You got the
and he
poop
did
end
not
stick.
handle he did not handle the breakup well. And again, it was my birthday. Nobody cares, but I cared. I brought a mini DVD, like a portable DVD player. And we watched Pokemon on the way up there, which was great. Highlight of the day, because the rest of the day we would see them and have to turn around, do a 180. And then on the way back, I pawned them off on someone else, and I was watching the draft on my phone, or keeping up with the draft on my phone. I don't know if you could necessarily, it was 2011, 2012.
Stream it.
Yeah, I don't think you could stream. And I wanted
You
two guys.
refresh the ESPN one that says on the clock. And
exactly. I wanted one of two guys. I wanted Luke Kuechly, or I wanted Fletcher Cox. And I believe we did trade up for Fletcher Cox after he fell out of the top 10. Luke Kuechly went in the top 10 to the Panthers. So yeah, love that story. It ended up being a good day, and that's the only thing I remember about it, was drafting Fletcher Cox on my birthday. And completely unrelated note, second thing, I wanted to say that I had mentioned this last week, or 2 weeks ago, Chauncey Gardner-Johnson's contract. It was reported as 3 years, $33 million, which I thought was important because the whole previous negotiation thing, his agent screwed up. We talked a lot about that last year, and he ended up taking a not good contract with the Detroit Lions. And the fact that it was reported for 3 years up to $33 million, immediately I was like, it's not going to be that. This is the contract, or what we know about it still. 10 million fully guaranteed, only 10 million of 33 million. The cap hits over the next 3 years are 2.7, 4.01, and 5.9 for the 3-year contract. That is nowhere close to 3 years, 33 million. Those incentives must be crazy. So very fun. I just wanted to follow up on that because it was kind of like in a Friday news dump type situation, and I did not let it slide. So
I'm glad you remembered because I remembered, and if you didn't remember, I was going to say that I was going to give you 30 seconds to discuss the contract, but you remembered
there we go.
before I had to remind you.
See, I'm great.
Doing great.
Awesome. Happy birthday
all
to
right.
me.
Yes, happy birthday.
Oh, I gave
and
my
happy...
birthday out over the internet. I don't think that really matters. I have it on Twitter, just not the year. It's fine.
Yeah. Let's talk about the annual coaches and owners meeting. What was that?
Sorry, I saw the first bullet.
Oh, the coaches and owners meeting. We get our annual picture of all the NFL coaches in which everyone says this is like the most fit the NFL coaches have ever been ever.
But it's not, it wasn't even all of them.
It was also a terrible picture. One of the worst ones we've had in years. Not close up enough. Couldn't see enough. Not good enough. So lots of updates to rules, media, all this kind of stuff. Let's talk about media first and some terrible things. Peacock will have the rights to the Week 1 game in Sao Paulo, Brazil. It'll be the NFL's first game in South America and the first time the league has played a Friday night game on the opening week of football in over 50 years. The Philadelphia Eagles all playing in that game. They're waiting on their opponent for when the schedule releases, usually after the draft.
It's going to be it's expected to be revealed early.
Is it? They usually wait because they like to wait for
the whole schedule will be revealed later.
Oh, okay.
This specific game should be revealed within the next week, apparently.
Okay.
But it's expected to be either the Packers or the Browns. The Packers vice president actually said that last week, that they're waiting for the NFL to decide who it's going to be. Also, it will be broadcast locally. So at first I was like, I don't have to get Peacock just to watch the Eagles play. And then I realized I will be in a wedding in upstate New York. So
I remembered that.
I think I'm actually in a rehearsal dinner at that exact time. So I would have been streaming it anyway, I guess. But
yeah.
Whatever. They knew what they signed up for, but I am not happy with the NFL.
No. Also, the Peacock one is terrible.
Yeah.
I hated it. Either way, they usually wait for full schedule release until after the draft to wait for key landing spots. Like if JJ McCarthy ended up back with Harbaugh, that type of thing is a big storyline. They want to place that in a place that gets more eyes and whatever.
Number 1 overall pick versus number 2 overall pick or first and second quarterback going up against each other, that kind of stuff.
Yep. So while you are I'm going to switch points here. While you're in a wedding for that game, you will also be celebrating Christmas for more games. Even though it's on a Wednesday, you'll also be watching football. We are having 2 Christmas Day games, even though it's on a Wednesday.
Wait, what does that have to do with me being in a wedding?
I'm saying you're busy both times.
Oh, I thought you were saying Christmas was in week 1.
Oh, that would be crazy.
I'm already behind on my shop. Well, I'm going to be behind on my shopping regardless. It's fine.
No, Christmas, you get a Peacock game for week 1 and you get a Peacock game on Christmas. Right. The NFL cites the viewership and growth of Christmas games as to why they're still having a game even though Christmas is on a Wednesday. There's a quote here from Roger Goodell about injuries that I want to talk about. It says, quote, "In fact, COVID was a learning opportunity. I think it was the first time we played on a Wednesday. It will not be a regular thing. It will be when Christmas falls on a Wednesday. But the time period between games has been done before. We have not seen any elevation of injuries. You all and we have had a major focus on Thursday night when we first put it in, and we've still not seen any kind of elevation of injuries. So I think we have this down."
Yeah, I don't give a shit. He's not. To me, injuries are always a thing. That's not the issue that I have with it. The issue I have with it is the tactical advantage that and tactical disadvantage that is given to these teams that have to play on a short week, how it
Yes.
can impact them on a long week coming off of one, and all that kind of stuff. So both, and this was also reported. So both teams. So there's going to be a double header, I think, right? Yeah, two
Yes.
Christmas. So double header on Christmas Day. So that's 4 teams. Those same 4 teams will play the Saturday prior. So they will have the essential, basically 2 consecutive Thursday night games is how it'll end up sort of feeling to them. I
Mhm.
guess, or I guess it's still just one, but yeah, they put them on Saturday prior to allow a full Thursday night's game of
Yeah.
rest leading up to Wednesday by going Saturday to Wednesday as opposed to Sunday to Thursday. But I just think that's really dumb
Yeah.
because that because what it ends up being, if correct me if I'm wrong, I believe it's Saturday night game short rest, Wednesday night game short rest, final week of the season.
Yeah, I think so.
Like that is, yeah, I guess you get a longer rest for the final game of the season, but those 2
But
weeks
it also
beforehand
throws you off.
they're often, it might actually be it might
2
actually
weeks.
be second to last game of the season, then final week of the season. But either way, those are 2 of the most
It's
important
2.
games of the season with the way that the schedule shakes out, and
Yeah.
you're at the end. Like you're already tired, and now you're getting all these short rests. Like it's just I get
And
get
even
it,
if you
but
weren't
it's
like
dumb.
that, let's say it's normal rest, whatever, it's still like it impacts your scheduling. And like these
Mhm.
players have their bodies are studied by science. Like, right, like it's the nutrition, the sleep schedule, the friggin' vitamins they take. It's all very scheduled and planned. And to throw another loop in it by switching a game to Wednesday is kind of crazy. While I do love Christmas football, I had a blast. I don't know that
I
it's
didn't.
incredibly beneficial.
The Eagles lost to the Cowboys on Christmas.
I know. I remember. And then Amazon Prime gets the rights to a wildcard game. So now there are 2 wildcard games that are offered exclusively via streaming because Peacock also has a wildcard game.
I'm
So
fine with
2
that only
via
because
streaming.
Amazon actually does something that makes their broadcast worth watching with the
Yeah.
next gen
Prime
stats
Vision.
viewer, Prime Vision, yeah.
Mhm.
Where you can like see really cool stuff.
Yeah.
I feel like if it's on streaming, it has to offer something like that.
Yes.
Not just like a worse version of it being on TV that I have to
Yeah,
pay
with
for.
like the time delay between like when they speak and you can hear the sounds of the game before the
I
game
hate it.
starts moving. Loved
I hate it.
that. Really, truly
Peacock sucks.
incredible. So let's talk about some
Unless they want to sponsor our podcast, then they're great.
Then we're the biggest Peacock fans.
Well, let's not go that far. I'm still not the biggest, but I like the
So with the NFL coaches and owners meeting, we always get rule amendments, rule changes, and new rules brought forward. There are plenty to talk about. Some we've talked about already, but let's just start at the top, I guess. From Detroit, they now have protected a club's ability to challenge the third ruling following one successful challenge.
Good.
Yay.
Yeah, so basically what that means, the actual change there is you used to have to get a third challenge opportunity, you used to have to get both of your challenge opportunities prior correct. Now you only need to get one challenge correct to get an additional challenge. So
Yep. I like it. What's this one? Oh, to allow for an enforcement of a major foul by the offense prior to a change of possession in a situation where there are fouls by both teams.
Yeah, so this is just a really fancy way and making it sound convoluted. Like whenever there's like offsetting penalties, or not necessarily offsetting, but fouls by both teams, you can choose if it's on a change of possession, you can choose to use one before or after, as opposed to it just being automatic. So there's strategic advantage there. It's very niche.
Yeah. The language is also very weird in it. So the way I'm reading it is basically how it's written in like the rule book. So I could read you like rule section article, but
and then I'm trying to dumb it down for people like me.
Yeah. To include a ruling of a passer down by contact or out of bounds before throwing a pass as a reviewable play.
Just smart.
Very smart.
Just good job.
Double thumbs up. Our favorite rating scale.
Yeah, 2 thumbs up for that one.
2 thumbs up for that one. What's this one? To allow a replay review where there is clear and obvious visual evidence that the game clock expired before any snap. I like this one too.
I don't actually.
Why?
I feel like they're asking for trouble with it.
Okay.
Because it happens so often. It happens at least once a game, every single game. And it's because of the way that they have long since decided to call a clock expiring, which is like
The clock
they're
expires,
looking at
you
the
look
clock.
down and then you look up. Yeah.
Exactly. You got to do it one way or the other. Like, I don't know how to, like, I'm sure it can't.
Maybe like one of those like
a vibrating
like the
watch
shock
or
collars.
something.
Yeah.
Like,
Maybe like one of the dog shock collars.
You went shock collar. I went vibrating watch. You're going to have to call it differently if you're going to make it a reviewable thing.
Yeah.
So, like, I understand they're trying to save this for specifically high leverage situations, but it's just, I think they're asking for trouble is basically what I'm trying to say. It was one of those things where, did I think it was right the way they did it? Like, not really. It was kind of stupid. But I've long since accepted it, and it's standard, and it's consistent. At least mostly consistent. About as consistent as anything in the NFL really can be, apparently, which in itself is not a good thing, but, you know,
true.
whatever.
True. NFL refs wearing shock collars. Let's see. What's the next one? To eliminate a potentially dangerous tackling technique. We talked about this one last week.
The hip drop.
The hip drop tackle.
All right, so correct me if I'm wrong.
Yes.
I don't know. I don't know a lot about this. I think it's a good change.
I do too.
I don't see, like, obviously it always comes down to like, okay, well, now how are we going to tackle? It's like, yeah, I get that. I understand that feeling for sure. I'm not the one out there doing it. I've never played.
You should be.
No, I shouldn't. I will die.
Could you imagine if someone hip drop tackled you?
Yeah, I would break. Like, I can imagine it. I would die. It's just like, I feel like it's very rare that we have such a clear example of like, hey, this is a lot more likely to get people injured. Let's just not do it. Sure. Now, for me, the issue I have is, of course, again, the refs. How they're going to call it. Are they going to be consistent? It seems like a really, really hard thing to be consistent about, and also make clear to the players and the people watching. From what I read, there's like 3 main parts of it, and they have to do all 3 parts during the tackle for it to be an actual hip drop tackle.
It's
and
otherwise, unweight yourself, swivel, and drop. Like, drop your body weight onto like the lower limbs of someone.
Sounds like a fancier stop, drop, and roll.
Basically. I mean, really.
Actually, it kind of is.
It is.
Wow. Look at me.
You like stop running by unweighting yourself. You drop while grabbing somebody and roll by using your legs to like knock them out from underneath.
Look at me.
The NFL stop, drop, and roll.
Yeah. So like, I don't think it'll be, I don't think it's the type of thing that will come up nearly as often as people might kind of are making it out to be, if they are consistent about calling it only when it's all 3 of those pieces together. If the refs aren't consistent with it, it's going to become infuriating almost immediately. And that's the big thing. Like everything, I think it's a good rule change if they can enforce it consistently and well. So,
yep. And that was my entire point last week. Like, when I had said, like, when you do this, like, I encourage you to also do the coaches being able to challenge a foul, because again, like, I don't know that it's going to be like done well enough for it to be effective, I guess.
There's no trust in the NFL.
I 100% support banning the hip drop tackle. I think it's poor tackling technique. Learn how to tackle. Like, sorry, I don't know what to tell you.
She said it, not me.
So get better technique and learn how to tackle, and then this wouldn't be an issue. One point for me is that when the NFL was like proposing this rule at the NFL coaches and owners meeting, they had showed a video of examples, and there was like one that was like iffy in there, and that's what makes me nervous. This,
and I don't even know how accurate it is, but I'm seeing now on Twitter that apparently the NFL said the Mark Andrews thing isn't even a good example of it. So I'm already terrified about the inbound. Like, I agree. I just shouldn't do it. I have no faith that the NFL will be able to
Yeah.
consistently call it in a way that doesn't frustrate everyone.
Agreed. Okay, this one is the kickoff rule. Do you want me to fully read this, or we want to just explain it one more
No,
time?
let's just explain it.
Okay.
So basically, they're adopting almost exactly the XFL rule with small changes. The XFL rule was something that they had developed and was pretty groundbreaking when the XFL came back in 2019. And so essentially what it is it's going to look a lot more like a scrimmage play. The kicker is going to kick off, and I did take a picture of where did I?
Oh, the field, like with
Yeah,
the
the
landing
field.
zone and everything.
Yeah. So the kicker for the kicking team is going to be kicking off from their own 35-yard line.
Do
The
you want to put the
kicking.
picture up?
Yeah, actually, sure.
Okay.
Well, no, you gotta wait a second.
That's fine.
Is that? Oh, cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So if you're watching, oh, I want it to be
Just
me.
you.
No, get away. There we go. That's better. Yeah. So if you're watching, this will help more. Yeah. So kickers kicking off from their own 35. The kickoff team is lining up between the 40 and the 45 of the receiving team. There's a 5-yard gap, and then from the 35 to the 30 is where the receiving team is setting up 9 players. There can be 2 players in the landing zone, which is basically the red zone of the receiving team. It's between the 20 and the end zone. And in the end zone is like a touchback-ish area, sort of. So essentially, there's a couple different like levels to it. No one is allowed to move with the exception of the people in the landing zone once the ball is kicked. That's the 2 people in the landing zone, the 2 returners. Once they catch it, then the other teams are allowed to start engaging in blocking and running. That's why I said it's going to look a lot more like a scrimmage play, because essentially once the kickoff returner gets it, it's going to look as if the ball was just snapped for everyone in front of them. It's like you're starting, instead of like shotgun, it's like shotgun times like 10, I guess. So I think we're going to see, like, one, it's supposed to really help with injuries because you don't have 11 people charging at each other at full steam. And on the other hand, it's also going to make for more exciting plays, in my opinion. It's not going to be the kickoff that we're used to. We're never going to, depending on if this becomes a permanent change, we're not going to see that again. And that's fine, in my opinion, because this is safer. And I also think it's going to be equally as exciting, if not more exciting, because it is not. And shoot, I thought I had this up still. You're not supposed to get touchbacks. You're not supposed to, and I do want to look this up real quick because I had it. Where was the? Oh, I'm so mad at myself. I closed this tab. Sorry, I have it. Here it is. Okay. So essentially, the kickoffs that land short of the landing zone are considered the same to be as a kickoff out of bounds, with the receiving team gaining possession at their own 40-yard line. Holy crap, that's really far up. Kickoffs that travel into the end zone through the air can be downed for a touchback, with the ball getting at the 30-yard line. That's a 5-yard increase from what touchbacks used to be. So the kickers are very much encouraged to put it directly in the landing zone. Anywhere else is an immediate disadvantage for the kicking team. And on top of that, hang time doesn't matter. It doesn't matter how long it's in the air because nobody can move until it's caught. The wrinkle exists if the ball lands in the landing zone and bounces into the end zone, then a touchback only gets moved to the 20-yard line. That rule encourages teams to return any kick that comes down short of the goal line. So long story short, they're doing everything in their power to make sure that this ball is being caught by the return team, by the returner in the landing zone, and creating an actual play.
When the ball hits the ground, can they move?
I will be honest, I don't know.
Okay.
That's interesting. No, I don't know. I haven't seen that anywhere. I'm sure it's somewhere, but I have not seen it. Also, no fair catches allowed on the
Yes.
kickoffs. And no penalties do not change the location of the landing zone or the setup zone at all. Only the location of where the kicker is kicking it will change. What this also means is the onside kick is not what it used to be. This is probably the biggest kind of unfortunate outcome of this whole thing is they're only allowed in the fourth quarter, and they're only allowed by a team that's trailing in the fourth quarter, and they need to announce their
Intention.
intentions before the play, and from that point on, the current set of onside kick rules apply.
Yes.
So we're never going to get, assuming this stays how it is, we are never going to get what we got in the, I think,
Week
Super
1.
Bowl of, well, no, I was going to say Super Bowl of 2009 with the Colts and the Saints.
I was going to talk about what Sean Payton week 1 first time with the Broncos. Maybe.
Was it? Well, Sean Payton was the one that did it in the Super Bowl.
I think he did it literally the first play of week 1, like kickoff of week 1.
I believe you. I don't remember.
I think it was him. I
remember
know
it
a
happening.
team
I
did
don't
it.
remember it being Sean
I
Payton.
know a team did it, but I think it was Sean Payton. I'm not sure.
Cool. Well, there
Yeah.
you go. 2 examples of
Yeah.
Sean Payton doing it. That's not
Yeah.
allowed anymore. No more surprises.
Yep.
So that's a definite loss, but I do think the overall outcome of this is going to result in a lot more fun and exciting plays rather than the kickoff just being completely dead, which is kind of where it was heading. It's
Yeah.
also going to put a lot more steam behind having a good kick returner on the team.
Yes.
Which
Special
is
teams.
very, very exciting. Punt returners had already taken a leap forward over kick returners, just with all the kick return rules basically saying, hey, we don't want you to return the ball. Now they're basically forcing a return of the ball.
Yes.
And I think it's also going to change who you're putting back there. You're not looking
Mhm.
for a guy that is going to, you're not,
It has to be
that can kind of
strategic.
make one cut and he's just accelerating for all time. You're
Yes.
looking for a guy that's much more similar to like a good running back and the
Yes.
ability to have the vision to
Find
look
run
through
gaps in the vision.
blocks.
Yep.
Exactly.
Yep.
And it's going to look like a running play.
Yeah.
So I'm really excited to see what teams do there. I also think we're really going to start to, because they can set up however they want in those zones. So I think we might start seeing some real creativity on the special teams coaching to make some really interesting formations. The kickers can put the ball wherever they want as long as it's in the setup zone or in the landing zone. So yeah, I think we're going to see some really cool things. I think it's going to be really interesting. I'm really excited to watch it because it's going to be another play. Like it's going to be another play where cool things can happen and it can really change the way that the game is played. So I'm excited.
I'm excited from the player health and safety point of view and my research into CTE in college. Because not having a stationary player where an entire field of players run at them full speed is really beneficial to preventing brain injuries. So when you have like 2 moving forces towards each other, it's a lot better than 1 moving force towards a stationary force. So for injuries as a whole, for brain injuries specifically, fantastic.
Unless that stationary force is a brick wall and the moving force is the Kool-Aid man.
True.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know where my mind is at today.
It's all over, man.
It really is.
Okay, let's fly through next couple of these ones.
Okay.
Clubs are provided with an unlimited number of designated for returns transactions in the postseason, so players can be scheduled as able to return.
Yep.
As many times as they want. The trade deadline is moved to the Tuesday after the week 9 games, so bumped back.
I think that's awesome. I think it's going to make for
Yes.
more trades, more things that are going crazy and more fun. I think the closer you move it to the playoffs, the more teams will feel like they can make a move to really put themselves in a point of contention rather than being a little more unsure of where they currently stand in the overall landscape of the NFL. So,
I think it advocates for more movement. And the flashiness of the trade deadline, I think, gets flashier with this move.
I think they. I don't know if this was their primary reasoning, but I think they want to rival the NBA's trade deadline. Trade deadline, in my opinion.
Probably. Each club can place a maximum of 2 players who are on an applicable reserve list on the business day of the final roster reduction to be designated for return. These players will immediately count as 2 of the club's total designations. So this is like players who are injured.
So in the past,
yes,
when you place someone on IR prior to the roster cutdowns, they were on season-long IR. They were not coming off of it. You had to get them onto your roster, then move them onto IR for them to be designated to return. Now those players can enter IR and be designated to return prior to roster cutdowns, basically leaving you a lot more wiggle room as you're going into, essentially.
Yeah. And then with that, with practice squads and stuff, they expand the elevation rules to allow clubs to elevate a quarterback an unlimited number of times as long as it's as the emergency third quarterback. So he can't be promoted to backup quarterback. That still follows the same. You can only be elevated 3 times before you have to be placed onto the actual 52-man roster. If you are designated somebody for your roster as an emergency third quarterback, you can do that every game of the season if you'd like. There's no.
So you're going to see more teams having their third quarterback on the practice squad. It's an extension of the Brock Purdy rule. So.
Yep. And Jacksonville wanted a preseason trial of providing a specific hawk-eyed feed in the coaches' booths for the 2024 season. They're just basically looking for a new camera view.
Well, they did it last year as well, so they're just doing it again.
Yep. All right. That one a little bit longer than expected, but we have.
But fun stuff. It was all fun stuff.
Things. If you say so.
I do.
We're approaching the NFL draft.
Yeah, we are.
We're less than a month away now, or just about a month away.
No, I think we're less than a month.
Less than a month?
I believe it's the 25th.
Okay.
Because it's the day before my birthday. It's always around my birthday.
Yes, it is the 25th. Less than a month.
Nailed it.
We're getting there. Lots of this is where you see the ramped up hype of some players. Some manufactured by teams, some manufactured by agents, but we're starting to get into like the hype train of these players. But we want to talk about some key positions. We'll talk about all of the positions throughout the next couple of weeks leading up to the NFL draft before we get to our yearly mock draft, where someone is odds and someone is evens. But we're going to start today with running backs and tight ends. Correct.
Dibs on evens.
Okay, fine.
Odds?
I get the first overall pick?
Yeah.
Okay.
The Eagles pick 22nd.
Yeah, I know. That's how we always judge this. Is do you always want the evens, or will you always want whatever the Eagles pick is?
Yeah. What do the Giants pick? Are they 6?
I think so.
So we'll just switch them on the 6. No. Are they 7? Are they 5?
5?
No, the Broncos or the Chargers are 5.
Bears?
Yeah. Bears, Commanders,
Patriots.
Vikings do not have the 4th overall.
Cardinals.
Then I think it's the Chargers.
Yep, and then the Giants.
How do you not know what the Giants have?
I've been not really focused on the order. I keep
you have a top 10 pick. How are you not focused on the order? Yeah, the Giants have the 6th, the Chargers have the 5th, and it's because Titans, Falcons,
scaring
Bears,
me, and I'm pretending they don't exist for a little while.
I'm sorry, I'm just thinking about Saquon Barkley being a Philadelphia.
Congratulations.
Thanks.
Everything's fine. I'm fine. I'm totally cool with it.
Yeah.
Doing perfectly good. The New Heights podcast is going to be totally great for my mental health. It'll be totally fine.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about running backs. Since you want to talk about Saquon Barkley, let's talk about running backs in this.
Let's do it. Let's do it.
All right, so this. Oh.
I was going to say, how do you want to do it?
I don't really care. I wanted to just mention that this class of running backs, in my eyes, has been a little bit slept on. While there is not like a consensus overall number 1, I do think there is decent talent here. Not as high as we've seen in recent years, but I do think there's a lot of good talent, and I think it makes it fun that there's not really a consensus like this guy is the best one. Makes it interesting.
I wouldn't say it's been being slept on. I think it's being properly rated. I don't think there's going to be a first-round running back. I don't think there's one deserving of a first-round running back.
Agreed.
Maybe there's 1 or 2 picked in the 2nd round, but if they are, like I don't see anyone that I'm like leaps and bounds ahead of where it's like, if I don't get this guy, I'm upset.
Yeah.
I think it's just a bunch of different flavors of guys, none of which
Yes.
I think are of the Jonathan Taylor, Saquon Barkley type mold where, they're going to be a 3-down running back, workhorse day one. Even like Breece Hall, when he came out, he was a 2nd-round pick, but I still think that he was of that workhorse mold. I don't
Yes.
even see anyone on that level.
No.
And I guess
By the
Jonathan
way,
Taylor was 2nd-round pick.
Odunze is not working out at Pro Day on Thursday.
Congrats. I'm happy for him.
Interesting. All right.
Didn't he do stuff at the combine though?
He did do the combine.
Yeah, so he's the only
He
one.
had
that
like
did
a
the combine.
standout performance at the combine.
Yeah, no reason to do anything else. He already
Yeah.
did everything in front of everybody. I don't blame him.
Yeah. All right. I don't care what order you do it in. If you want to give your top guy, we both have notes, but you give yours. I'll give some thoughts.
I'll be honest. I don't really have a top guy yet.
Okay.
I don't have a strong enough opinion.
Yep.
I have a general list of my top 5-ish guys.
Yep.
But is there one that you feel strongly about?
Let me look at my list. There's like 2 of them that I view higher. It's not. I don't really like Blake Corum, so it's not Blake Corum. Jonathan Brooks and Jalen Wright are at the top of my list personally.
So I have Trey Benson and Jonathan Brooks at the top of my list. So let's start with Jonathan Brooks.
Okay.
I'm going to give a quick background of this player. Shout out to The Ringer and Daniel Comer, who helps with the big board, I guess.
Before
and the
you
draft
give background,
grades.
can I just give his numbers and then you give background?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. He's 6 foot nothing, 216, and ran a 4.
Like that.
What?
Just say he's 6 foot tall. 6 foot nothing
tall.
sounds so offensive.
Short Kings unite.
Not even short. That's just short for a running back. No, it's tall for a running back.
That's tall for a running back.
Yeah.
216. He ran a 4.45 40, and he played at Texas. Now you go.
All right, yeah. So he was a senior and former 4-star prospect out of Marshall, Virginia. He was rated the 12th best running back in his recruitment class, and the number 129 player overall. Was the 2019 Gatorade Player of the Year in Maryland. He played in 6 games in 2020, his freshman year. He was a Son Haskins backup in 2021 and finished the year with 144 carries, under 1,000 rushing yards, and 11 touchdowns. He caught 24 passes for 141 and a touchdown, and he returned kicks as well. He became Michigan's full-time starting running back in 2022 and finished the season with 1,400 rushing yards and 18 touchdowns. He was a unanimous first-team All-American and a Doak Walker Award finalist. He missed the final 3 games of the season with a meniscus tear in his left knee, and he underwent off-season surgery before the 2023 campaign, where he rushed for 1,245 yards and an FBS leading 27 touchdowns in Michigan's national championship season. He's also Michigan's all-time rushing touchdown leader. I think that's a fun little background. That was on Blake Corum.
Yeah.
That was on Blake Corum. Yeah, I clicked Jonathan Brooks, I thought, but...
Okay, well, you gave his background, so let's skip Jonathan Brooks, and I will give you Blake Corum.
Whoops.
He stands at 5'8". He weighs 205, and he ran a 4.53 40, and played for, obviously, Michigan. So let's talk about Blake Corum.
As soon as I read Michigan, I was like, I didn't think this guy went to Michigan. That's crazy. I didn't have that written down.
Because the whole time I was like, oh, wow, he's pretty good.
No,
and then I'm
yeah,
like, you
so
say Michigan. I'm like, there wasn't 2 of them there.
Oh, that was all Blake Corum. Yeah. We're fine. I'm doing great, guys.
Our first year of player evaluations is going really good.
Yeah, okay, so you don't like him. Why don't you like him?
I don't really like him. I really feel like he's a fairly one-dimensional. I think he has really good football IQ, but my thing is it comes with like durability with the 2022 season-ending injury, and a decent amount of wear and tear and miles on him. I don't view him as highly. Like I said, I do think he is fairly one-dimensional. He needs a lot of improvement in a passing game, and it doesn't really help an extreme amount in like pass protection. So for me, I like the other 2 guys better because they're a little bit more versatile. So Blake Corum falls a little bit lower because of his dimensionality.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's fair. I think the biggest red flag for me is really just that injury. His elusiveness went down after that injury. This is according to PFF. He forced 73 missed tackles on 248 rush attempts in 2022, and he forced just 30 missed tackles on 258 attempts in 2023, also tallying less rushes of 10 plus yards. So between having a heavy workload and that injury, you're not really projecting that he's going to get worse after the injury. You've actually seen it. So you have to wonder whether or not that was because of the injury, or there's just a little less confusion, or sorry, there's a little more confusion and uneasiness about investing in him because he's not the biggest guy. He's 5'8". But I do think he's a 3-down guy with proven production, track record of carrying a heavy workload as long as he can stay healthy, which all things considered, he stayed pretty healthy, but again, he got worse. So I like him. I don't know if he's my favorite in the class. I think he's probably the most proven in the class, and he's probably the closest thing this class has to a 3-down workhorse. There's just more questions surrounding his availability and his health. Yeah.
Yeah. Agreed. Do you want to finally talk about Jonathan Brooks?
I would like to talk about Jonathan Brooks.
I'll remind the people who Jonathan Brooks is. He played at Texas. He's 6 foot 216 and ran a 4.45 40. He did in fact not play for Michigan.
That is true. So he was a redshirt sophomore and former 4-star prospect out of Texas, where he was ranked the number 24 running back in his recruitment class and the number 354 player overall. Played in 11 games as a reserve during his first 2 years of Texas, only totaling 340 rushing yards, 6 touchdowns. He appeared in 11 games in 2023 and was named a Doak Walker Award semifinalist. Finished the season with 1,100 rushing yards and 10 rushing touchdowns, and ranked ninth among FBS running backs with 3.9 yards after contact per attempt. He also caught 25 passes for 280 yards and a touchdown. He suffered a season-ending ACL injury in his right knee in November 2023, but says he expects to be ready for NFL training camp.
Yes.
So is he your favorite?
I do think he is. So for me, it's this really good mix of being light on his feet and maintaining good contact balance, and the ability to kind of blend in on any offensive scheme. He meshes well with a bunch of different looks and schemes, and has this fantastic route running ability. While his route tree does need to develop a little bit, he's proven that he can do that well. He's also a good downhill runner and not one-dimensional. And one of the greatest things, if you watch this film, is once he gets around a DB, he gets speed and is a true threat. So when he gets out there, it's anyone, it's his game. So with that, I do understand that the ACL injury in November does knock him down a bit. It lowers the scouting report on him, because again, it's what you have to prove to us. You can still do what you can do afterwards. But I like the fact that I think this is going to blend better in a modern NFL team than someone like Blake Corum.
Yeah. I think a lot of the things you said I had written down as well. Great acceleration and the ability to beat defenders outside and run away from them. He's a slippery runner that makes unblocked defenders miss. He's got a great loose lower half. He's very good at juking, and he makes subtle moves to leave tacklers flat-footed. As a receiver, he's a very natural receiver. He catches the ball away from his hands, and he shows the ability to smoothly turn upfield to gain yards after the catch. And he's solid in pass protection, and he meets blitzers in the hole really well. I think his biggest question mark is obviously that ACL, and his durability is a question mark kind of because of that. He only has 1 season of starting experience, and I saw sometimes he needs to get his pad level a little lower more consistently on inside runs and short yardage situations. So I've only seen him really be consistent as an outside runner, as a big play guy. But he is very patient, and he hits his holes well. He has good vision. It's just a matter of, getting that pad level where it's supposed to be.
Yeah. And that to me is fixable. And I that's what I want, is someone who just needs a little coaching, not a lot of coaching, and technique.
I need a lot of coaching.
I think you should go out there, truly.
Nobody wants that.
I do.
It's unfortunate
I
for you.
root for you. Let's talk about Jalen Wright out of Tennessee, who
Okay.
stands 5'10". He's 210 and ran a 4.38 40.
He also did not go to Michigan. He went to Tennessee.
He did.
He was a junior and former 3-star prospect out of Durham, North Carolina, where he was the number 40 running back in his recruitment class and the number 659 player overall. He was Tennessee's third-string running back as a freshman in 2021. He finished with 85 carries for 409 rushing yards and 4 touchdowns. He became Tennessee's leading rusher as a sophomore, finishing in 2022 with 146 for 875 and 10. And then he started all 12 regular season games for Tennessee in 2023. He rushed for 100 or more yards 6 times and led all FBS running backs in yards per carry, finishing the year with, in yards per carry at 7.4. And he finished the year with 1,100 scrimmage yards and 4 total touchdowns. Fun fact, he would like to be a broadcaster when his NFL career ends, and he models his game after Alvin Kamara.
Ah, I like that.
Yeah.
I also love when like they have a plan. Like sometimes I feel like college kids get like really dependent, like athletes who expect to go pro. Like getting your degree, getting a plan is super cool. I really love when they do that. All right, Jalen Wright. For me, a couple of the great things about him is his patience and has really good decision making abilities. He's really good in the backfield as a receiving option. He's proven himself there, and he is a playmaker. Like he's at his best when you give him the ball in any way, running or receiving, and has this incredible burst. Like it's noticeable when he plays this really quick, explosive burst. And for running backs, that's a huge telltale sign of, I'm not saying it's the only factor, but like having a burst like that is an indicator of possible success at the NFL level, because it's required for how much quicker the game moves and how much bigger the guys are. To be able to get the jump like that and have an explosive burst bodes well for your NFL career. The downsides for me is that he really struggles with yards after the catch, and with cutbacks, and compared to some of the other people in this category, lacks some of the power and strength that they do. But again, when you're on an NFL level with nutritionists, like I know they do have this at NCAA schools like that, but more proven nutritionists and meals and plans set forth for you, I think you can grow bulk, like you can get bulkier, grow muscle. And I think that's something he can work on in the strength aspect of it.
Yeah, I think the thing that worries me there is when you got a guy like this, I don't think you want him to do that because he's going to lose speed. And that's that's his calling card. He's going to be the lightning to someone's thunder. I think Alvin Kamara is not a terrible comp. I don't think he's as proven as a pass catcher as Alvin Kamara. Like he's not going to catch 100 balls in a season.
Yeah.
I think maybe like a Raheem Mostert type of role back when he was with the 49ers, where he's not getting a ton of carries. Is Keaton Mitchell the guy on the Ravens?
Yes.
The running back. Maybe that's like, I don't think he's going to get a ton of carries. He did not get a ton of carries in college. I think that's probably what you want to see is not a ton of carries. But every time he touches the ball, he's a home run threat. He's not going to necessarily be like an inside running guy. He's not going to grind it out. He's not going to get 20, 25 touches a game. But in every touch you get him, you want to put him in a position to succeed where he can hit that home run ball because he can. Again, speed's the name of his game, and he does it as well as anyone in this class. He is explosive as anyone in this class.
Yeah. All right. On to the next. Want to do Trey Benson?
Let's do Trey Benson.
Let's do that. Trey Benson stands at 6 feet tall, 216, and ran a 4.45 40. Wow, him and Jonathan Brooks are the same height and weight. And 40?
Yep.
Did I write that right? Wow.
Well, no, I have Trey Benson at 4.39 40.
Oh, okay. Maybe I have. So I got one of their 40s wrong, but they are the same height and weight. I know that for sure.
Yes, that I have, yeah. So quick background, redshirt junior, former 3-star running back out of Mississippi. He was the number 27 running back in his class, number 372 overall. He transferred to FSU in 2022 after spending his first 2 seasons with Oregon. He missed the 2020 season after suffering a torn ACL, MCL, lateral meniscus, and medial meniscus in his right knee. Oh, medial, sorry, not medical. Medial meniscus. Sorry, I hear my dog screaming.
I heard that.
Also suffered a gracilis tendon, hamstring tear. He was a backup for Oregon in 2021 before transferring. He played in all 13 games for FSU in 2022. Began the season as a backup, but eventually took over as a starter. He finished with 154 attempts for 990 rushing yards and 9 touchdowns. Also caught 13 passes for 144 yards and returned a kickoff for a touchdown. He was very good at forcing missed tackles as well. And then he was the lead back again in 2023, playing in all 13 games, totaling 156 rush attempts, 906 rushing yards at 5.8 per carry, and 14 rushing touchdowns. He also caught 20 passes for 227 yards and a touchdown. He was named an all-ACC second-team running back.
Yeah. So for me, I think he's another one with pretty good football IQ. Like, I feel like he sees the game through a lens that is like given to you at birth. So I do think he has some really good contact balance, and with his size, he uses it accordingly. He's speedy. He's another one who's speedy and can outrun the defenders if he can get ahead of them. He does have a little bit of burst. I think the knee injury did affect that for him, but it's really can be seen when he's running downhill. He has receiving talent, so he is fairly well-rounded, but I think needs improvement in all of those aspects. Obviously, with the injury history of ACL, MCL, LCL, meniscus, tendons, all in one go, that's always an asterisk put next to a name. And I saw a lot that he runs into the contact. Sometimes, like, his vision has improved over the past couple of seasons, but he still has a habit of running directly into contact.
Yeah, I think my biggest takeaway was, one, he's explosive. He can create on his own with short area bursts, has a natural talent for breaking tackles. He's really awesome at that. According to PFF, he finished his college career atop all Power 5 running backs over the past decade in career missed tackles forced per carry at 0.391. He's obviously got great speed, running a 4.39 40. But the biggest negative about him is he's very boomer bust. He has a penchant to freelance that will get him in trouble. His vision is erratic. He tends to run with a mind for the big play, which means a lot of bouncing outside or reversing field instead of just following his blocks. Very opposite of Jonathan Brooks in that way, which I think he had very good patience. This guy doesn't have the greatest patience, and he's going to need to learn how to play within the system that he's drafted into. Or else he's probably not going to see the field. He also has a pretty limited route running repertoire. So he's probably the most unproven of the guys we've talked about so far. He has a high upside because of his natural ability, but he needs to learn how to play within an NFL offense.
Yep. And let's talk about our last guy, who we seem to have ranked a little bit higher than some other people do, who's Marshawn Lloyd from USC, who stands at 5'9", 220, and ran a 4.46 40.
Yeah, I just every time I see Marshawn L, I think we're talking about Marshawn Lynch. So that's where I'm at with him. But
yeah.
A quick background. He was a redshirt junior. He is a redshirt junior and former 4-star prospect out of Maryland. He was a 5th-ranked running back in his recruitment class and the number 43 player overall. Spent his first 3 college seasons with South Carolina before transferring to USC in 2023. He suffered a torn ACL on the second day of fall camp during his true freshman year in 2020, but played in all 12 games as a reserve for the Gamecocks in 2021. He became South Carolina's starting running back in 2022 and finished the season with 573 rushing yards, 9 rushing touchdowns, and 176 receiving yards and 2 touchdown catches. He missed 3 of South Carolina's final 4 regular season games with a quad contusion. And he was USC's leading running back during his first and only season with the Trojans. He finished the 2023 campaign with 820 rushing yards at 7.1 per carry and 9 rushing touchdowns, as well as 232 receiving yards on 13 catches.
Yeah. So for me, with him is, again, speed, another speedy one, with a lot of explosiveness and somebody you don't want out in open space. He seems like he can start to work in a receiving, but I don't think he got much of that. And I think a lot of that comes from the fact that he didn't have as much starter like time as a lot of these other guys did, with only coming into the starter role recently. He was really good at like identifying blitzes and starting to, you could tell that he was starting to improve in pass protection. He did like still does need a lot of improvement in pass pro, but I think my biggest downsides for him is that he often does have trouble seeing the space, and like as somebody who you're looking for with this explosiveness as a downhill runner, that's a downside for me. But overall, like I really do like him as a prospect.
Yeah, I mean, the good for me, he forced 47 missed tackles on just 115 carries in 2023 and 10 missed tackles on 13 receptions, which are just incredible rates. He's highly elusive. He's a big playback who flashes down as a pass catcher. Not very proven in college, but was impressive as a pass catcher at the Senior Bowl. And he's a creative. He's a play creator who brings the potential to play in all three downs, but he's just not proven to do it yet. He's quick and explosive and has a low center of gravity, excellent contact balance. The not so good is he's never carried a heavy workload, and he's relatively unproven in the passing game. And he's had some ball security issues, fumbling 4 times in 2023 on not a huge workload, losing 3 of them, as well as what was the other thing that I had? Totally lost my train of thought.
Can jump in.
Oh, yeah, no, sorry. It was about pass blocking. He might be able to identify, but he gets knocked back in the pocket way too often.
Yes.
For someone, a guy, he's 5'9", but he's 220 pounds. He's thick and muscular, and he just needs to be able to learn how to block better. I do think that's
comes
something.
with the contact balance, though, too.
Yeah. Well, I think that he has good contact balance, so that's the problem. I think it's more technique of how he's actually blocking, which is something that can be taught if he has the body to do it.
But with that, like the bit, like when we say it like that, a huge downside of it is when you're with difficulties in pass pro, you are signing up for a running back that's a 1 to 2 down back. You don't want him as a 3rd down back. Like when you have difficulties in pass protection, you don't want him out there as a 3rd down back. So you're signing up for something that you know you're only going to get some of. You know what I mean? It's not somebody you know you can use all the time.
Yeah, I mean, yes, that's true for basically all of these running backs for the most part. I don't think many of them, at least right now, qualify as 3-down running backs. The bright side is he has, I believe, the physical ability to be a pass blocker if he knows how to do it, and he flashed pass catching at the Senior Bowl. So I like him.
All right. Tight ends, quickly.
No, let's just cut it there.
Okay. All right. We'll cut it there. We'll move on. Next time, we'll talk about more players, NFL draft prospects. We won't have as much news and rule changes to talk about thanks to you. You can thank us cutting tight ends out to the owners and coaches meeting. Sorry. Duncan, in the meantime, before we start talking about more players, where can we find you?
Waiting anxiously for the return of one Joel Hans Embiid. And also on Twitter at MBDuncan75.
You can find me.
Oh, wait, no, I take that back. The Phillies start this week, so I'm going to be enjoying my team of himbos.
Ah, true.
That's but like a day later because it already got rescheduled. So, but that's bad for the Braves because they don't like having an extra day of rest because they are losers.
Good. You can find me upset that I'm not going to the Olivia Rodrigo concert. That's upsetting. And on Twitter at Ashley_Maria 2 A's and Ashley. You can find me, Duncan, the entire Undroppables crew on our Discord channels, which you can get access to by becoming a patron at patreon.com/theundroppables. You can find us here live 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time on Wednesdays, and you can listen back to us anywhere where you listen to your podcasts. Spotify, Apple Music, or Apple Podcasts, Podbean, wherever. Also and you can watch us on YouTube all the time. Yeah. Well, we hope to see you here next week. It's okay. We hope to see you here next week where we can actually jump into tight ends and talk about some other positions in the NFL draft and help us lead into our annual mock draft in a couple weeks. So we hope to see you there. We hope to see you every week. Have a good week.
Go Birds.
Bye.